Awesome. We're live. Lauren, it's great to see you.
Hey, Sean, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm very excited to have you on. It's been a long time between episodes with MLK, then New Year, and then Christmas, Thanksgiving. I've sort of been on a travel break. How have you been doing lately?
Been doing good. My family's from Atlanta, so I got to spend the holidays with them, and then back in Birmingham for work and things, just getting back into it. So it's been good.
Amazing. And what do you do for work?
Yeah, I actually work for an offshoot of JH Ranch called JH Israel, and it's a ministry nonprofit, and we have a location that's similar to what is out in Northern California in Israel. And it's been going on since before the war. It's been going on for about 15 years, and they do trauma healing right now and a lot of PTSD healing. So yeah, same like high ropes courses, low ropes courses, and they really teach more like Old Testament based and on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And anyways, it's been really cool, and I've learned so very much. I studied graphic design at Samford, so it's a huge, just different direction. Never expected myself to be here, but just have learned a lot for such a special time, and it's been really cool to care for a people group and also like learn about different perspectives and different people around the world and what they're going through and how to love and care for them.
That's awesome. That's great. How'd you get into that?
Yeah, I was actually in a Bible study, and a girl named Joan Leslie McGill is my leader, and she is the chief of staff for another sister organization that we have called, the acronym is USIEA, which is such a mouthful, but it's the United States Israel Education Association, and they host congressional trips over to Israel. So we take bipartisan U.S. congressmen and women over to Israel to educate them on the importance of keeping Israel and the United States in good standing with each other.
So we go back because we both went to Samford for those who don't know, Samford University, and I just kind of wanted to get for people who don't know you a little bit of backstory of who you are, maybe how you got to Samford, and your story now.
Okay, yeah. So you can't really tell from the camera, but I was born with a disability. I'm actually sitting in a wheelchair. I was born with a unique mixture of something pretty similar to spina bifida. It's like has a lot of doctors write spina bifida slash sacral agenesis. So that means the bottom of my sacrum didn't fully form. So my tailbone and kind of offset my hips and my legs. And so I just have weak legs and a shorter stature. And I walk with leg braces and full leg braces from toe to hip to, and then have crutches too, and then use wheels intermittently for work and for school. And yeah, grew up in Atlanta, went to a K through 12 institution there and loved it. And when I was looking at colleges, I was really between Belmont and Samford. And I loved Samford. It just reminded me so much of Wesleyan, where I went to school in Atlanta. And just was really interested in going there. So just took a leap of faith and went to Samford and absolutely loved all 4 years there. Was super involved with my sorority and with my design major, graphic design, and had a great time. I would do all 4 years over again.
That's amazing. So when you were a child going through this, I don't know, like, do you reflect on it much, or is it sort of something that you, go through every day and take everything moment by moment or day by day?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like the way I approach even day to day tasks and challenges
Mhm.
from a perspective of having been born and raised with a disability and having to live life and just having kind of a glass half full, positive, if I've overcome this, like I can overcome anything, and just a very like problem solver attitude about life, and just how can I make this better, and how can I say yes, and just um, show up and enjoy life for all it's worth. And yeah, I definitely had to learn at a young age, like, all right, I look different. My body is very different from everybody else's. But that doesn't stop me. And it actually like cut comparison from a pretty young age. Just because I knew I didn't look like anyone else, but I knew that I brought something like different and exciting to life. And
Yeah.
it's honestly like, I joke like, and this might be TMI, but this is like on my Hinge profile, but it's it's like with me, you're not gonna get like the main road. Like you're gonna get the back road with lots of turns and like unexpected things, but it's so much more fun. It's like the scenic route. So anyway,
Yeah.
my life's a movie, and there are crazy things that happen, and then there are ordinary things that happen. There are frustrating things that happen, but it's worth it and it's fun, and I'm along for the ride.
That's an interesting perspective. There are a couple things that I thought you said were really enlightening, but like recently for me, sort of a revelation I had is like I used to think that cancer took away my childhood
Mm,
or stole it, and throughout high school and college, I was bitter about it.
yeah.
But then I realized, no, my childhood wasn't stolen. I was just comparing my different childhood to other people's childhood. So I think that's cool that you had a different perspective than me that you learned early on.
Yeah.
Um, could you touch up on that and what that was like?
Yeah, for sure. And it plays a lot into my faith. I'm a Christian, and I grew up in a Christian household, but my biological mom kind of decided to leave our family at a really like pivotal time in my life when I was going through a lot of surgeries and had an affair, and it was just a really hard situation. And I never got along with her all that much, to be honest. And she, yeah, kind of chose a different path of life, and our personalities kind of always butted heads. And so once I was like kind of middle school into beginning of high school, I cut off ties even from having kind of like just visiting her on weekends, because my parents got a divorce. And God really redeemed our family because my dad remarried in 2011, and it's such a crazy God story. They actually like her husband and she went on a date with my dad and my biological mom in the 90s. And we always joke, like, what if the waitress or waiter came up and was like, hey, in a couple years, like, this is going to happen, and you won't be in the picture, and you won't be in the picture, and y'all are going to get married. And so, anyways, like I said, God really redeemed our story. My, who I consider mom, technically my stepmom, she um, lost her husband to a heart attack in 2005. And then, yeah, married my dad in 2011. So I was 12, and she got me at a really pivotal age. And she's a very strong believer. And she just like instilled in me like faith in the Lord, and that like I can do anything that I put my mind to. And my parents really raised me with like a can do attitude, so to speak. Like you can do anything that anyone else can. I have a biological brother, and then I got three sisters from the marriage, and they're my best friends. So I'm like second youngest, and everybody else is very able bodied and like runs way ahead of me. And I'm like, guys, wait up. Like no one stops for me. No, they're the best, but they're like, come on. And they're so much fun. So yeah, my parents raised me very much so like everyone else. And I even live like on the second level of our house. I take like 20 stairs up to my room and down a hallway to get to my bedroom, like at my parents' house, and no elevator or anything. But I'm so glad that they raised me that way, because like it just made me so determined. And I just like can face the challenges that are put in front of me. And I think especially when it has come to like my later years in life and like, or not later years, gosh, I'm 26, but I'm just saying like out of college, post
Yeah.
grad,
Yeah.
I have like my eyes have been open to how inaccessible our world is. And as somebody with a disability who has a heart for like my friends who are wheelchair users and can't necessarily take a bunch of steps, it's just opened my eyes to like, okay, what can I do to kind of be the change instead of being the blame and like
Mm.
speak up about things. And that was actually something cool that I got to do at Samford, but I can go into that at a later point.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love
Yeah,
to hear that. I think what you're saying is I saw even a quote today, is you always wanna be the person who has the solution to the problem, not the
yeah,
person with the problem. So, yeah, I definitely love to hear about
yeah,
that.
for sure. And like, there's a space to be frustrated. I will say, like, there's totally a time to be like, this sucks and this is very frustrating, and those feelings are really valid. And so it's good to like feel those feelings and be mad, like be angry, cry. Like I'm a girl, I cry all the time, and I'm like, this is frustrating, but also channeling that energy and like putting it forward to like writing an email, writing a letter, like speaking up, making a difference. And that was something I did at Samford, as I mentioned. I had a project during like my graphic design um, major, and the project was like a social justice project. And with all of my projects, I like to have just skin in the game and a reason for why I was doing what I was doing and saying what I was saying. And so when it came to social justice, I was like, I think I could really speak to Samford's lack of ADA accessibility. And that's not a knock on Samford. And in fact, if anything, it's like out of my love for Samford that I wanted to see change, and had to speak up and say, like, unfortunately, I've seen kind of the rough side, and I've had to take freight elevators to get to class, and my scooter can't get over these certain like cracks in the pavement. And anyways, made kind of a funny project of it all, and it was called Build a Freaking Ramp. Like it was BFR was the name of the campaign, and I made these like pull tab cool posters and flyers um, that just said like, if you need a handicap accessible tour, like ask me, call me, and I'll show you the way around here. And it was definitely like a more edgy vibe just for the design sake of it all. And I was super scared because I ended up posting it on my like design social media that has like 5 followers, it feels like, and like gets zero interaction whatsoever. But for some reason, that post specifically kind of blew up, and it caught like the university caught wind of it, and they were sweet and got like me on their schedule for a meeting, and I talked with the university president and the campus like strategist and disability resources at the time. I think that they've changed their name now, but
Mhm.
anyways, we met and I came with my top 10 list of things that I would change, and they were super easy, super cost efficient ways of like, hey, this is a this is the accessible entrance into the Wright Center, which is the big auditorium, but there's no like automatic door. Like this is a great place to put just a automatic door button right there. And then they had just redone the university center, and they didn't put any automatic doors there, and it's such a high traffic area. I was like, this is a perfect spot for that. I think there was like one on your way in from Ben Brown, and then there wasn't a way to get in past that. Like there was a bunch of doors and no push button, and so asked for one there and just a couple other things, and was able to just kind of speak up about ways to make Samford better. And I came to them like shaking. I was so nervous and so scared about, I thought that they thought I was so mad because of the nature and the aesthetic of the project itself. I was like, they think I'm some angsty, angry person. But I wrote a letter to kind of get all my thoughts together, and I shared, of course, I can't think of the verse reference at the moment. I think it's in Matthew, but it's when Jesus is saying to his disciples, like, how you care for the least of these is how you care for me. And like that just struck me. It's like kind of the outcasts of society, like how you care for them is a reflection of how you care for the Lord. It's not the easiest people to love, it's the hardest people to love. And I just kind of called Samford out and was like, let's love on people better. Like, there are obviously grandparents, but there are siblings and there are future students that might use like a wheelchair or a walker or crutches or whatever it may be to get around here. And let's make this like, I made it kind of cheesy and I said, like, let's make it for God, for learning, for everyone, forever. And just said, like, this should be for everyone. There should be no limit to who gets to enjoy Sanford. It's such an amazing place.
That's amazing. And I also think that, one, I commend you for speaking up. I know it takes a lot of bravery, but also on Sanford's side, now, in the world that we live in, like, obviously Sanford, they probably just didn't know.
Yeah,
Probably no one had spoken up.
for sure.
And instead of them doubling down or anything, they said, "All right, we're gonna fix this." And they were
Yeah.
nice, and they helped you, and they took your feedback, and that takes a lot of guts. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Their response was incredible. Like, they did an amazing job. And I came to them, like I said, and I like immediately diffused, like, I was like, hey, I am not angry. I would do Sanford all over again in a heartbeat. I've loved all 4 years here. And it's been so amazing. But here are some things that could change.
Mhm.
And they even gave me a follow-up meeting where I used a mobility, honestly, like tricycle size, like mobility scooter to get around Sanford. And I took them around on some of my routes and I was like, this is how I get here. This is what I have to take to get to this class. This is a core class that everyone has to take. And they were like, oh my goodness. Like
Yeah.
you said, they had no idea, and it really opened their eyes. And something that was really special was I actually did an extra semester because I took a gap semester during COVID. And I did that project in a spring semester, and then over the summer, they, like, changed probably, like, 7 of the 10 things that I brought to them, and then that last semester, I got to enjoy, like, the fruits of my labor, and it was so cool. Like, I was like, "Wow, they meant business about this, and they changed it," and that last semester, I got to actually enjoy it, so it was so special.
That's amazing. That's incredible that also, you're using, or it's just in a world where, like, I mean, my dad told me, like, once when I was young, like, "Hey, you can be the Sean Fridella who had cancer, and you can put that all behind you, or you could be the Sean Fridella who had cancer, and you can fight for it." And I was little, I said, "I wanna be the Sean Fridella that fights for it."
Yeah.
And there's not a right or a wrong answer, right?
No. Yeah.
You know, it's not on the person who goes through that experience to always make the change, right?
So true.
Sometimes, um, you just wanna move on. That's perfectly fine after going through something extremely difficult or enduring something extremely difficult all day. But it
Yeah.
is very cool as well on the other side to see people who are going through something extremely difficult, like you talk about. I mean, every day is different for you. Like, you have to take routes to your classes specifically. Like,
Yeah.
that's something that, like me, I would never think of, or Sanford never thought of prior.
Yeah.
So thankful that you spoke up for that. That says a lot about your character.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and it like you said, it can be a personality thing too. Like, I am, like, on the extreme of extrovert. I love being around people. I get a lot of
Mm,
energy when I'm around people, and I'm a problem solver naturally. My dad's an entrepreneur, and my mom was in sales, and so I just was raised that way. I'm very, like, much so a people person, and so the way that I faced these problems is a result a little bit of my personality and also just like wanting to overcome it. But there's also no shame in, like, if you're having to deal with something difficult or you have been given just like dealt a difficult set of cards, in life, you don't have to, like, speak up. But or make a change or feel the pressure to do all this stuff, but I would encourage somebody, rather than partnering, like if you notice like offense or frustration, like try to channel that energy into talking to someone about it, or writing a letter or an email or something. Like that energy could be negative or you can use it positively. And so like I just challenge those out there who are, rather than partnering with a fence, like partner with an opportunity.
Oh yeah, definitely. There are so many ways to see it in these challenges that come into our worlds overall. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Awesome. So sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You're good.
I wanted to ask you something that you had brought up earlier. If you would be vulnerable enough to share,
Yeah.
what was it like as a child going through this? I was wondering if you could touch up more a little bit
Yeah,
on that.
totally. So happy to share. I'm an open book. Um, Let me think. So growing up, like I said, my parents really instilled a very like can-do attitude, but there was a lot of difficulties as far as just knowing that I am so different from everyone else. And like there were probably times, unbeknownst to me, ignorance is bliss, that I was kind of like the girl in the wheelchair, or whatever the stereotype or category I might have fallen into at the same K through 12 university that I was, or school institution that I was at, um, in Atlanta. And I really noticed a difference once I got to college, because I like was able to break out of that. But to go back to that, yeah, there were a lot of difficulties just in elementary school. I used like a wheelchair to get around. And then into middle school, I switched to using like a motorized mobility thing because I had more textbooks, and it was just heavier to get around. I honestly didn't want to be like super jacked. So something motorized was a little bit more helpful and faster and more efficient. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, just being a middle school girl, point blank, is difficult, but being a middle school girl with a disability was really hard. And there are a lot of body image issues that I had to deal with and overcome. And even in high school, I would do things like, I was involved. I've always been more heavy on the art side. So, like I said, I'm a graphic designer. I did like art, AP art. I was super involved in theater and like the musicals and plays, and I did voice lessons and did the like our choir at school. And it was really hard because I would like I would work for a role or something in a show, and obviously my body stature and everything doesn't look like the leads in these shows. And so it was difficult because I would always like work really hard and then be given like the crumbs, it felt like, of like ensemble or just like a minor character that rolled in on a platform. So I didn't have to use my crutches or scooter or anything. And I wouldn't like mess up the show, so to speak. And honestly, props to the creativity there. Like I will say, like, that was into those things. But it's like two things can be true. Like it was hard for me to know that like I don't fit into what this is actually supposed to look like. And there's a low part in high school where I was in a show, and it was a really like dance heavy number, but they wanted my voice and needed my voice, but they didn't want me on stage. And so they're like, can you just sing from the side? And I actually ended up quitting that show because I was just, that put me in the dumps. Like I was like, I'm out of here. Like that was really hard for me to hear.
Wow.
And I also needed to focus on my grades and school and everything. Um, but yeah, no, that was tricky. And I will say, like, this is also pretty vulnerable, but from a dating standpoint, it's taken a lot of courage to put myself out there
Mhm.
and to see my worth. And that's something I'm still working on, and I didn't date anyone seriously in high school at all, and same with college, was always a girl's girl, very involved in, like I said, my sorority and school of the arts, graphic design, so I just didn't even, like, open that door for a long time, and there were no opportunities either. I felt like I was just kind of invisible to a lot of guys, and then as I've navigated post-grad, I have, like, gone through a Hinge era and have gone on a couple dates with just, like, guy friends, and it's been so refreshing just to be, like, reminded, like, "Okay, I'm a person, I'm a human, like, I'm awesome girl, like, guys wanna date me, like, it is good to, like, be reminded that, and, that's not where my worth comes from at all, but it's definitely something I hope for and I pray for and get excited about, so, yeah, we'll just see how God unfolds that part of my story.
I can't imagine what it would be like to be in high school or middle school as
Mhm,
a kid, especially where you're growing and starting
mhm,
to learn about yourself, going through a situation like that. Like,
mhm.
I've never had something happen to me like that, like with the play. Like,
Yeah,
to me, that is like, I feel like that would scar. I mean, just, being blunt,
yeah.
that would scar a lot of children.
Yeah, it was tough, and I'm sure they didn't mean it the way that it happened, and I was just at a low point in my development and, like I said, like, needed to focus on grades and other things in my life, but it was a shot to the heart. It was really hard to come back from, and, it was frustrating,
Mhm.
but, I'm always the one to find the bright side, and this is a fun story. They had, like, slated our senior musical to be kind of a no-name show that had no fun roles in it, and me and a couple of the other theater kids, also, let me just preface, I grew up in, like, the High School Musical era, so, like, theater was super cool and super fun at my school, and, like, the cool people did it, like, the quarterback literally would come and audition and, like, get the lead somehow, some way, and it was always really fun. People would rally around the theater community at my school. And our senior year, we met with the director and we were like, we have got to change the musical. Like, can we please do a Disney musical? We wanted to do Beauty and the Beast really badly. And um, it took a lot of convincing, but we got him on board. And it was super fun because I got to be Mrs. Potts. And that was such a dream come true. And they actually like used my mobility scooter to like build the teapot around it. And it
Very
was
cool.
super special. So I got to like still have my scooter and like the thing that helps me get around, but I also got to play a fun part and got to
Mhm.
showcase some of the gifts that God has given me, and it was really fun for people to see that show and be like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea you could like really sing," or like
Yeah.
things like that. But yeah, it's taken me a while to singing and like being on a stage is something that I want to do with my life. But I think that there are wounds and hard things from my childhood that have like made me a little bit more timid or made me a little bit more shy. And I've just had to like push through that and get over that. Or I'm just growing through it, like so been trying to put myself out there and be more confident, be more bold. And I feel like a lot of that comes from just like knowing that my joy and my strength come from the Lord.
It certainly makes you wonder, uh, just going through now as an adult, how we affect young people. For example, I coach. A lot
Yep.
of people coach, or maybe you have a small group or whatever, how you really need to be conscious
Yeah.
of how you affect these young people who might be going through something. Like, you gotta be really tactical and maneuver that. Like, the person, the theater teacher, maybe they didn't mean it that way,
Yeah.
but the person who's disabled, it
Mhm.
can completely wreck them. And then on the other side of it, talk about having the spot, as you said, Miss Teapot. I have not
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah.
I need to see it, but I haven't seen it yet. But like, that is something that impacted your life. Both are memories that you'll never forget, and you
Yeah.
learn from both of them.
Yeah.
but it shows you about, like, as an adult, as we grow old and there are younger people around us, they don't have to be super young kids, they could just be younger, and
Mhm.
they look up to older people.
Mhm.
Just how you affect them, I think is something that, I haven't really thought about until you mentioned that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been sweet too. I feel like in more recent years, I've had teachers come around just through like discovering me on social media. And it blesses me so much when I see somebody from my childhood say, like, oh my gosh, look how far you've come. And like,
Mm.
this is who you are now. Like, I just came across your page and so glad to see you're like thriving and doing well. And obviously, social media is a highlight reel, but you're so right in saying, like, our words and our actions hold so much power. Like, we go throughout our days sometimes just thinking, "Oh, whatever," but, like, it's such an opportunity, like, you probably have such an opportunity, Sean, in your coaching to just, like, speak so much life into those guys and to really encourage them and to find their strengths and play to their strengths, and that is so cool. I think some of the most pivotal teachers and yeah, like mentors in my life, like saw my disability as my strength and played into that, and not just my disability but like certain parts of my personality and like what I'm passionate about. They would like really champion that on and find ways to, yeah, play to those strengths. So it's pretty cool.
I think what you said is really important is sometimes in life we can look at people and see the surface level and judge them. But what you were saying is, or how I interpreted what you just said, was that, like, when you dig deeper and you really get to know a person and you find out who they really are, and at the end of the day, we're all human beings,
Yeah.
and everybody has special gifts and talents no matter what they're going through, and it's important as a human being to try and connect with other people no matter who they are, what they've been through,
Hmm.
and I don't know, I just never really thought about it that way until until you said that, so I'm trying to put my words together.
Yeah, no, well, you're such a great listener and a good reflective listener, and that, like, that is that's what it's all about. Like, I feel like, um, again, my faith plays a huge part into this, but just, like, knowing we are all made in the image of God, and, like, Genesis talks about that, like, we all bear the image of God, and even, like, our arch nemesis or, like, our worst enemy or the person you would hate to be in the same room as, like, actually was made in the same image that you were and has just as much value, has so much potential, and there's not one person that's greater than the other, even though I feel like social media and society will say that one person's greater. Like, we're all equal in God's eyes. I truly believe that, and we're all super worthy and super valuable people.
So, are you continuing to act and travel down that avenue of life?
Yeah. As far as like advocacy, is that what you're talking about?
Oh, I meant, well, I guess a two-pronged question, like, you mentioned that you still wanted or you love theater and acting.
Yeah.
Do you still try to do that as well?
Who knows? It is on my bucket list to maybe be like the voice of a character one day. I feel like that would be so much fun. Um, and then yeah, who knows? I don't know. At the moment, I'm not pursuing any acting things, but I am involved on the worship team at my church and get to use my voice. And that was even like a kind of a leap of faith to get
Yeah.
involved in that area just because I was like, okay, like honestly, churches aren't that accessible. Like there are steps up to the stage. Like I gotta rally, I gotta be strong, and I'm gonna look different. But I think it really is honestly such a power move because it's like, and I mean this in like I don't know how to say this in a humble way, but hear me out. It's like, hey, if me, this person who is facing a day-to-day problem and frustration, honestly, with God, like I will say, my disability is a like contention point with me and God. Like I am not okay with it, but I've learned to become okay with it. Like, it's the two things can be true. Like, it is still really hard, and it is still something I bump up like head on with God in my prayers and just like journaling. Like, this is frustration. Like, this is frustrating. And why do bad things happen to good people? Nobody knows. It's kind of the divine mystery that we have to go throughout life, like choosing to be okay with it, or choosing to be frustrated with it, or neutral or whatever. But yeah, no, sorry, I got scattered there. Can you bring me back on track?
Oh yeah, it was just overall question. I love that you're continuing to pursue your passion of performing arts
Yeah,
and singing in whatever form that
yeah,
may be. And I love to hear that about voice acting too. And now with like TikTok and Instagram
yeah.
and YouTube and social media, you can kind of now
Mhm.
I feel like you can do anything now.
Yeah,
Just with uh, it's never been easier to be out there, be heard, and have people find you. So,
yeah.
uh,
It's
I
true.
think
It's kind of
yeah,
freaky, but it's true.
it is. Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's scary at the same time as it is exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's also a question that you raised, the why me question that
Mhm.
is extremely difficult. So, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people ask that no matter what they're going through in their life. And that was something like for me that I had to go through going through cancer. I was a comparer. I always compared myself to other people, which was extremely unhealthy. And it sort of tore me apart.
Mm.
But I would always say, why me? And then like other people would have problems. They would talk about their problems. I'd be like, oh, come on, you haven't like one, you haven't been through what I've been through, or two,
Right.
you haven't been through people who I know what they've been through, and I haven't been through what they've been through. Their journeys are much more difficult than mine. Like, why are
Mhm.
you complaining? That was such an extremely like unhealthy place to be. So I'm
Yeah.
glad I got through that. But that why me question is extremely difficult. And I
Yeah.
think a lot more people go through that than maybe they would like to admit, because
Mhm.
it is sort of this existential, deep and powerful question, whether you're religious or not.
Yeah.
You know, when something bad happens to you, your immediate thing to ask is, why me? Like,
Yeah.
why would
Just
you do
this
this to me?
big why. Why does that happen? Yeah. And kind of the best place to be in is like, I don't know. We don't know. We have no
Yeah,
idea. Yeah.
yeah,
My
and then
dad likes to
okay,
say, like 20% of life is what happens to you, and the other 80% is how you respond to it.
yeah, yeah. It's so important. You can sit there and you can ask why me when something bad happens, and you can cry yourself to sleep, or you can be depressed about it, and it shows, or you can just say, all right, this is it, this is what's happening. I
Yeah.
gotta move forward, can't move back, can't
Yeah.
time travel, can't reverse what happened.
Yep.
That this is out of my control. I just got to keep going and do what I love
Yeah.
and hope for the best.
Yeah.
At
Like,
this point.
really all we have is the present. Like, right now, this is what we were given. This is the gift of just being right here. And like, of course, there's the past, and we can look back and like learn from that and have sweet memories and difficult things, difficult memories that we've overcome and have made us who we are today. And then there's the future of like what we're hoping for, but that's not even promised to us. It's like what we have is right now. And like,
Mhm.
what are you going to do with that?
That's amazing. So you may have answered my question in that was beautifully, perfectly said. But I always ask my guests at the end of the episode, what through your journey have you learned,
Hmm.
and what do you think can be applied to everyday life for people listening?
It's a good question. I think I'm going to answer it with something that I'm just learning at this very moment in my life.
Okay.
And it is the present. It's the gift of the present. It's a gift of being here and not so worried or consumed about what has happened or so worried and consumed about what will happen. And of course, it's good to dream. It's good to set goals, but like right now is what we get to respond to. And so when it comes to work and showing up for things, just like giving a bold yes and and just like showing up, and like when a coworker is like, "Hey, can you do this?" I'm like, "Yes." Like I'll figure it out. Like, "Hey, there, like, can you come to this event? There's going to be a bunch of stairs." I'm like, "Sure. Yeah, like I can do it." Like just having that attitude of like I can do it. Um and just realizing like it's sometimes good to kind of slow down and like just take it moment for moment. I catch myself like I'm super hyper and like have a lot of ideas, and I like to joke that my favorite word is also. Like I'm always like when I'm talking to my roommate, I'm like, "Oh, and also like and then also." I'm just like talking her ear off, and it's good to just chill and to slow down and to just be present and show up every day and just do the best you can.
That's amazing. That's also sort of the theme of my podcast. So it's funny you said that, the earn the moment,
Yeah.
and what I try to teach and preach, because I think it's so very important. Well, Lauren, I'm so excited to have you on, and that was a
Thanks.
great conversation. I really enjoyed it. It got really deep. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that you're able to be vulnerable, because a lot of the people listening are going through difficult things in
Mhm.
their life, or they're trying to navigate this hard thing that we call life. That's a big map, and it can feel overwhelming at times.
For sure.
So I think that they'll find a lot of wisdom and strength through your story and your message.
Thank you so much, Sean. It's such an honor.
Awesome. Well, everybody out there, make sure to earn the moment. And Lauren, you have a great one.
Thanks.